What is going on, everyone? We are here with another nighttime interview. Been doing those a lot more recently rather than just doing kind of the daytime interviews, but it's all good. We're just having fun. I'm meeting new people, enjoying new music, and just hearing people's stories. Today, we have Kat Kennedy here. Kat, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
No, of course. I'm thrilled to have you on. I know we've been scheduling this for like a month or two now. So I'm just excited to finally have you here. And I just appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Of course. Yeah. Happy to do it.
Kind of before we get into the questions here, why don't you just kind of let the people know a little bit about just who you are? It doesn't even have to be music wise, just kind of who you are, where you're at right now, and what's going on.
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up in Connecticut, moved to Boston for college. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. Stayed in Boston for 3 years. I love it there. I would have stayed forever. I think it's such an awesome city. And I ended up moving to Los Angeles after the majority of my friends who I met from college moved out here. So moved out here in 2019 to pursue music and work with my friends who are also musicians. And obviously 2020 kind of changed things a little bit and threw us through a loop there. But yeah, I've been out here. Sorry, it's my dog. I've been out here since then, and just doing the artist thing and writing for other people, and kind of trying to dive into some other elements of music as well. So that's kind of the Reader's Digest version of my story, I guess.
No, that's awesome. So it's kind of cool just because you are a little local, obviously, because I'm about 20 minutes outside of Boston. So it's cool that you kind of originated from like around here in Connecticut and Boston. And then obviously I've had a couple other people that have been close by is up in New Hampshire, Noah Hudson, shout out to him. And then Kyle, who's from my hometown in Burlington, Massachusetts too, which so it's just cool to kind of have like the local community come back and kind of do interviews and stuff like this.
Oh, totally, totally. Yep, New England. Love it.
No, exactly. But I mean, I think we were kind of just talking about it before the interview started. You probably like the weather a lot more out there than back here, obviously.
It is pretty nice. I mean, I don't think I would want to go never seeing snow, but like you were talking about, it was like 2 degrees or something, and here it's been 60 all week. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like yesterday was about 42, 43, somewhere around there. And I was like, I walked outside and I'm like, wow, this is warm. I can't believe I'm actually saying 42 is warm. But I mean, I would take 60 and sunny any day of the week. I'm not a fan of the cold.
Yeah, it's nice. It is nice.
So, kind of getting into the first question, everyone always knows I start with the basic of basics, and it kind of really just sets up the whole story for you and kind of telling your story through music is just where did everything start for you, like singing wise? Obviously, I know you play guitar and stuff like that. Like, where did just everything like singing and playing the guitar, how did all that come about for you?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up singing. My mom was a singer. So she was in like a little local band, and she really encouraged me to, do talent shows and sing and just work that muscle, even though I was really shy as a kid. So I had a lot of stage fright, and it was really hard for me to get up on stage. But she encouraged me to do that. And so I did. And it kind of just snowballed into this amazing cathartic like outlet for me as I got older, just going through life and growing up and facing whatever sort of things I was facing to kind of deal with those.
Mhm.
So it sort of struck me like probably my junior year of high school, maybe even into my senior year, where I was like, this is more than a hobby. Like this is something I really want to do. It's something that just brings me more joy than anything else. But unfortunately, at that point, I had not taken any lessons. I mean, we didn't really have the means to like do private lessons and things like that. And so I kind of just did it on my own time, at that point. And finally, senior year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for this, and I'm just going to audition and see what happens. And I auditioned for a few schools, a couple of them being like more classical based. And I had never really sung classical. I did more like the pop stuff or country, even growing up and that type of thing. And so I auditioned for Berklee. I almost didn't go because I was so nervous, and I actually had mono at the time, like I was
Oh
sick and
no.
yeah, and so I almost didn't go, but I did. I went and auditioned for voice. And by some miracle, I got in. And at that point, it was a really tough year, especially. I think it was like 12% acceptance rate. So I kind of credit that to like the universe or fate or whatever you want to call it. Just, you know, the fact that I got in there, and the judges kind of just saw that based on the raw talent as opposed to like any sort of skills of music theory or anything like that
Yeah.
I was lacking. So yeah, so that's kind of how it all snowballed. After school, things happened really quickly. I was like doing music constantly.
Mm.
After I graduated with a songwriting major.
Okay.
So after that, I kind of was pursuing like cover gigs and things like that, and just, you know, trying to kind of get by. And at a certain point, when I moved out to Los Angeles and the pandemic happened, I started shifting away from cover shows, weddings, and corporate gigs and bars, and doing my artist project on the side, and kind of started focusing more on just my artist project and really pushing that forward.
Mm. No, that's awesome. I mean, it's just always so cool. Like, I know it's a basic question to always ask is how people got into music, but it's just always cool to hear everyone's kind of start up because it's so different. Some people start at such an early age, and then some people just started like a year ago. And it's crazy to see like how they develop and grow into these different artists. And it's just really cool to see.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of getting into the second question is obviously when it comes to your music and stuff like that, who really inspires you? Like, who do you look up to, whether it's in the music industry or family wise as well? Because I know you said your mom's a singer as well, so she must have kind of gave you a little inspiration there. And like, just really like, did you push yourself as well, or did like your mom and family kind of push you as well? So what's all that about?
Yeah, definitely my mom was a huge influence because she was, you know, a musician and a singer, and she really encouraged me to keep trying and put myself out there and everything. And, you know, I think if anyone listening is a musician or an aspiring musician, you know, things like that can be really intimidating, like stage fright and anxiety about putting yourself out there, even if it's on social media, like not even on stage. And really all I needed was like that push to keep doing it, because if you practice at something or you just do it, you know, it's like no matter what, that anxiety reduces and you just get used to it no matter what it was. So I really needed someone to do that for me, and she did that, you know, encouraged me to do that, and that kind of launched me. So she was a huge support and inspiration to me. As far as like musical influences, I was really inspired by Tracy Chapman. I'm someone who's really into like lyrics and storytelling and music. And so I just thought her stories were incredible. I loved, you know, her album. So I was really into her. And lately it's been kind of more of a mix of artists that I've been inspired by lately. I love Gracie Abrams is awesome. Phoebe Bridgers is a great indie artist. Who's just has a very cool sound. Yeah, and then another one, this artist called Carobe, I also think is amazing. She does kind of similar. I think all of those are kind of similar to my style. A little bit more like ballady, female vocals, sad, you know, or angsty type songs. So that's who I've been inspired by lately.
Awesome. I really connect. Like, it's funny because I connect with a lot of, obviously I connect with every artist that's on the show, but it's always cool when people connect with the storytelling aspect of lyrics, because that's what really connects with me. Like, I grew up on country music, and a lot of people know that as that 90s, early 2000s is just when that storytelling behind all the lyrics were just so powerful, and you could just like you could just close your eyes, listen to that song, and just picture the whole story in your head. And
Yes,
that's just a lot of like the artists that I love and the like the storytelling behind it. So I really connect with that.
that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, me too. That was, I mean, we kind of grew up listening to a lot of classic country, and country is so much about the story, right? It's like the chords tend to be pretty similar. So it's all about the story. And I think that definitely influenced me to like listen more for that for
Yeah.
sure.
And I mean, obviously, with your songs, obviously, I've been listening to those kind of leading up to the interview with Party and Unpacking and Can't Wait and stuff like that. And that kind of leads me into my third question, which is your creative process, because it's so different for so many different artists. It doesn't matter if you're country, if you're pop, like people start with melodies and then right to that. Some people start with the lyrics and choruses and start with that. And I always have to quote him from now on, ever since he said this. Shout out to Garrett Walker. I like literally shout him out on every episode now because this quote is just so true and it just makes so much sense. He said songwriting in the creative process is like a puzzle. Doesn't matter if you have 500 to 1,000 pieces, you lay them all out on the table, you slowly figuring out what goes where and what fits where. And then by the end, when you have that whole puzzle filled out, you have that whole story, you have that whole song with the melody and everything just comes together. So with that being said, what is your creative process like when it comes to creating a song?
Oh, that's a great, yeah, I love that analogy of the puzzle. That I completely agree. I think that's a pretty good way to describe it. It's for me, it's been just a journey of coming from no music theory background. I didn't play guitar until I got to college. And so it was much more heavily for me, like almost like a poem style, just coming from kind of like thinking of lyrics and how I would put them together and everything. And then after that, I got more into like the chords and building the actual song that way. So at this point, I would say I usually tend to start with a concept or some sort of phrase that I think is cool or could have like an interesting twist on it or something like that. Like with Can't Wait, I just thought it would be so cool to have a twist on something you're excited about, but like twisting it into something that's actually negative or painful, right? Like I can't wait to never see you again.
Mhm.
So that sort of thing I'll jot down, and I have an ongoing list. And then usually when I get into like a session, if I'm co-writing with someone, we'll just pull from our list. Like usually most people tend to have something like that and pick a concept that way.
Yeah.
From there, I usually either just kind of mess around and find a good chord progression to start with, and we'll tweak it as we go. Or sometimes I'll just have like a shower thought of like, oh, this would be an interesting melody for the chorus, and maybe this could be the end of it, this concept or something. So it kind of builds out that way. But usually I'll start with that first
Mhm.
concept or phrase or something.
Yeah. No, and that's like I said, it's just so cool because it doesn't matter what kind of artist you are or what kind of music you're into. It's always really unique and cool to see how everyone kind of starts with that process. Because some people I talk to, they're like, oh, songwriting is so easy. You just write down some words and figure out a couple of chords. And I'm like, nah, it goes a lot more in depth than that. And like there's so much more of a process behind it. So it's always really, really interesting to hear everyone's creative process and how that all works.
Totally, totally.
Now,
Yeah.
the next question is it's always the hardest question. And I always tell artists that kind of before the interview. I mean, obviously, with 2020, with the pandemic and stuff like that, it really opened a lot of doors for up and coming artists and under the radar artists and stuff like that to really promote their music more. And even big name artists, it gave them an opportunity to kind of work on their social media and gain a lot of fans. And it doesn't matter what genre you're in, whether it's country, pop, rap, R&B. At the end of the day, there's thousands of new artists coming through each of these genres. So kind of my question is you're Kat Kennedy, but at the end of the day, what makes you you compared to all these other artists out there?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And it made me pause and think. So thank you for asking that, because I think I would say the thing that makes me unique or sets me apart is that fact that I came from that storytelling background, and then also combined with just a willingness to be vulnerable. I think that that's something that I've always had, even outside music, just a willingness to kind of tap into like the deeper emotions and feel that and share that with other people and talk about and process it that way. And I think when I started processing it with music, I started putting these songs out, I was getting a lot of feedback of like, I don't know what it was exactly, but that song made me cry. Like it like accessed this point of me that I can't put my finger on it, but it just like brought something up for me.
Okay.
And I think that that's special, and I think it's cool because I think it's just kind of accessing something that maybe you weren't as willing to look at, and just the song kind of brought it out or made you feel something, that you might have needed to process and didn't even realize. So that to me is what makes me different or special, is just that vulnerability and that storytelling, that I think connects with people, even if it's on that like deeper level, where you might not be able to put your finger on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was just actually the other day I interviewed artist from up in Canada, Evan Farrell, and we were kind of having the same conversation during the interview. It's just if and I pride myself when I'm a songwriter is if I can go out of my way to kind of write a song that's going to help someone else down the road, that's successful for me. It doesn't matter if it has 2 listens, 3 listens, but if those 2 listeners can really take that and are affected by that, then that's what prides me to be a songwriter. And that gives me all the motivation in the world to keep going with that, because I'm all about the emotions and the storytelling when it comes to the lyrics.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I think it makes it all worthwhile, right? Because it's music is just about connecting. So if you
Exactly.
connected, you won. It's like that's
Exactly. Because a lot of people also don't realize with the music business as well is it's so hard when you don't have those connections and when you don't make those friendships in music, like especially being an independent artist and stuff like that. It's just to open those doors and build relationships like I'm doing with these interview series and stuff like that. It's really unique and cool. And it's an awesome thing.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's not easy to do. I mean, I kudos to you for reaching out and doing this and kind of shooting your shot. And I feel like that's very vulnerable to put yourself in the arena. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Brene Brown, but she's all about that kind of putting yourself in the arena and saying, "Hey, would you want to do this?" And we didn't really know each other, but I just think that that's so cool and it's so key to this industry or any like creative field is just shooting your shot and saying like, hey, I like what you're doing, like do you want to work together, or do you want to get coffee, whatever it is,
Yeah. No, for
yeah.
sure. And like I think you obviously we kind of talked about it when I was asking about your kind of your story is being shy and stuff like that. When I was in high school, I was like a super quiet kid and I was super shy and I wasn't really like open about a lot of things. So it's just doing this now, I always live by this quote is you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Because if I mean, I'm only 25, but like when I get to 50 years old, if I look back on this and I never did this, then what am I going to regret it at the end of the day? And I'm just so happy that all of this kind of came about and that this is doing this now. And it's still really awesome to me because I'm over 40 episodes now and it's crazy to me.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I think it just shows like you put yourself out there, but you're also so organized and so thoughtful with the questions and everything. So I'm just excited to see where the show goes, and I'm excited I got to be a part of it because I think it's really cool. Very cool thing.
Thank you. That honestly means a lot. And kind of talking about the future, and like what else the show holds and what else you hold. That's kind of my final question before we listen to a song by you is what are your goals as an artist? Like, where do you want to go with your music and what else can we expect down the road from you?
So I just put out 4 songs last year, and it kind of was the start of me going into this more, slightly more like singer-songwriter or folky kind of sound. So this year, I'm definitely leaning into that and putting out new music. Probably next release will be March. So definitely anybody who's listening, follow on Spotify. It's Kat Kennedy, Kat with a K, or Instagram, Cat Dog Music, Cat with a K. I'll be announcing all of the next releases there, but that's the next thing is just putting out new music. I have a music video on the way for Unpacking, which was my latest release that I'm really excited about. So that'll be out soon too.
Awesome. And like I said, I mean, I'm a huge fan of yours. I love all the songs that you have out now, and I just can't wait to hear more stuff from you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
No, of course. So that kind of is all the questions I have. And now for the fun part is always my favorite part of the interview is to hear part of your song. We're gonna listen to Party. Kind of before I play a little bit of it, you want to just give us a background on how this song kind of came about and what kind of the meaning behind all of it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I had just come back from, I don't want to say stuck to make that sound negative, but I ended up getting kind of stuck in Connecticut because the surge was happening
Mhm.
December to January of 2021 in LA. It was like horrible. You probably saw it on the news, the
Yeah.
surge of so I ended up just kind of sticking around at my parents' place, and I was kind of, isolated. I wasn't around my friends. I was just, we kind of stayed in because that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got back that week, I met up with my good friend, Miranda Glory is her artist name. And we sat down and I was like, I want to write this song about how I want to get out and I miss seeing people and I'm an extrovert. So I just miss being around people and being in my 20s and doing that stuff, going out to parties and stuff. So originally it was really poppy song. And I brought it to my producers and they brought it into this amazing, like nostalgic kind of place
Mhm.
where immediately I heard it and I was just like, yes. And that song ended up doing the best of any song I've ever had. It got like on some Spotify playlists and yeah, I'm really proud of how it turned out. So that's kind of the story behind Party.
No, awesome. And that's definitely, I mean, obviously I love all your songs, but that's definitely one of my favorites for sure. And obviously everyone can go check out all your music on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever. It's Kat Kennedy. And we are going to take a quick listen to Party.
'Cause I'm still drunk in bed, call out of work and sleep till we go out again. Steady every day, starts to feel the same. Fall asleep at 8 and do it over. Wanna be a mess, think that I regret. All I really wanna do, get real drunk and kiss somebody. Wake up next to anybody. Tomorrow will be story, but right now I wanna party. Make friends with the girls in the bathroom. Say we're all gonna go get a tattoo. Leave my purse in the cab, blowing all of our cash 'cause we want to. 'Cause lately every day starts to feel the same. Fall asleep at 8 and do it over. Wanna be embarrassed with things that I regret. All I really wanna do is get real drunk and kiss somebody. Wake up next to anybody.
So that is Party. That's a little glimpse of it. You guys know, as I always cut it off because I want you to go listen to the full song. I want Kat to get those streams. Just a super, super cool song. I mean, obviously, I don't know if anyone saw, I was just jamming to that in my head. Had to be quiet while I was playing, but such an awesome song. Huge fan of yours, Kat, and I just appreciate you taking the time to do this today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
No, of course. Obviously, everyone go check her out, Kat Kennedy. Super, super talented. Just can't wait to hear more stuff. And y'all know the drill is every Sunday. I got a new artist on here. It doesn't matter what genre, but I'll see you all next Sunday at 1 o'clock. And that's it for today.